Hola, mi amigos. Yo soy St.Christopher. This is The Woodsman, and this is The Writer's Block, a book review show where I tell you if a book is good enough that I would recommend it to a friend, or so bad that I would chop it in half with an axe. Today on The Writer's Block, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter by Curtis Jackson. Pay no attention to the textbook behind the cover. Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter is a self-help book by 50 Cent. In the foreword, he talks about being a little bit unsure of writing a self-help book. People keep pushing him to do it. He even co-authored one, The 50th Law by Robert Greene. However, this one is done all on his own. To understand Hustle Harder, you need to understand hustling. Hustling, I would say, is a mindset of endeavoring to do whatever it takes to achieve goals. 50 Cent breaks this down into, how many chapters is it? 50 Cent breaks this book down into 9 little chapters, each addressing his own journey and his own takes on life and how to be successful. We start off with the first one, Be Fearless. The first chapter, Be Fearless, goes into 50 Cent's coming up in the music industry and him getting shot. He talks about having to move back into his Nana's house. He is prescribed by a doctor to go out and run. However, he sees that there's a guy lurking in his neighborhood, and he is skeptical about whether this guy wants to come and kill him or not. He is afraid. However, he doesn't want to be afraid. And so what he does is he gets one of his friends to come out and run with him, and he wraps a handgun in a bandage around his arm so that he has it while he is running. He could have just bought a treadmill. He could have gone to Planet Fitness. However, he wanted the neighborhood to know that he was not afraid. And he encourages people to take this fearless approach to push past boundaries. His second chapter is Cultivating the Heart of a Hustler. In this chapter, he just gives very sound advice. He goes over preparing your body and your mind for every day. He goes over diet, sleep, exercise. He goes, this is what I eat every day. I usually have a protein shake or a smoothie for lunch. I might have a salad. When I'm at dinner, I'll have steak and asparagus. I'll keep it easy. He's just telling you what he eats, giving you examples of how to eat healthy. He tells you about his exercise routine, how he got into boxing at a very young age, how he likes to run to stay fit, if he needs to slim down for a movie as well. Oh yeah. And then sleeping. And I love this part. He shatters the illusion that hustlers never sleep. He used to do that. He still does that sometimes, but he stresses that it is important to get enough sleep. He brings up a point that somebody said, which I agree with. Some of the smartest people just sleep when they want to. If you're tired, go to bed. It's that simple. There's no need to be like, I wake up 4:30 a.m. every day, and I go for 20-mile runs every day. You need to prepare your body for the day, but also realize that you're going to have to do that again the next day. He talks about not drinking alcohol and not smoking. And these are beautiful little stories that he has. He talks about going into a club and not wanting to ruin the mood. He still likes going to the club, hanging out with the honeys, but he doesn't like drinking alcohol. He expresses that when people drink, they get a bit sloppy. They let down their guard. So what he does is, if he's in the club, he buys a bottle of champagne, he pours it into everybody at his table's drink, then he'll have one of his workers go refill the bottle of champagne with Canada Dry, ginger ale. Then he'll just sip that all night, giving the illusion that he is drinking, having a good time, keeping the mood right. Same thing with smoking weed. He is not a smoker. He doesn't necessarily say you should never do this, but he sees it as a crutch that artists use to be creative. And I love this. He puts it to the test. 50 Cent sees drugs and alcohol as a crutch that people use to try and be creative. And he puts it to the test. He goes, if someone walked in and said, I'm going to give you the opportunity of a lifetime, perform right now, would you be like, I can't because I need to smoke weed? Can't perform without drugs. Then you might just be a drug addict. Yeah, other things, building a strong crew, know your value. Oh God, he talks in great detail about not taking the first money that comes towards you, working towards opportunity rather than a paycheck. And he has this great in-depth chapter where he talks about his deal with vitamin water. They are releasing a new form of vitamin water called Formula 50. Who better to sell that bottle than 50 Cent? When he goes in to talk terms, he says he does not want a big paycheck. He wants equity in the company. And they negotiate equity, which means he gets shares in how the company does. Oh, it's holding on. He then goes into buying stocks, talking about a different IPO. If the stocks are vested, meaning that if a stock is vested for a certain amount of time, you're not allowed to sell the stock. So you have to actually be comfortable that the company is going to do well. He goes into grave detail about how you should be consulting lawyers, and also the reason why this book is by Curtis Jackson and not by 50 Cent. It's something that he discusses a lot. The duality of himself. The persona of 50 Cent, the rapper, and the businessman, the mogul behind it all, Curtis Jackson. We've talked about him drinking ginger ale out of an alcohol bottle. And this leads into, I think, probably the best chapter in the book, shaping perspective. Whatever image you're putting out into the world, you are using it to shape their perspective. He talks about dealing with business executives being afraid of him because the perspective that he has put out as 50 Cent is this gun-toting rapper who you are likely to get into a gunfight with, instead of the businessman, Curtis Jackson, who's really reserved and a very smart thinker. And this is the highlight. He talks about his very young lesson about learning how to change perspective, and it all goes back to his Nana. He is living with his Nana, but he wants to start hustling drugs, and he can do that before school and for 3 hours after school. But his Nana walks him to school, and so he has to come up with a way to still be this innocent young boy that his Nana likes, but also go out and make that money hustling. He tells his Nana that all the kids at school are making fun of him because his Nana is walking him to school. And so, because his Nana is walking him to school. So if she could please just allow him to walk to school by himself, that would mean so much to me. She does. And that allows him to hustle in the morning. Then he has his after-school problem. He needs to hustle from 3 until 6, but his Nana expects him home at 3 o'clock. He can maybe get away with an hour saying he was playing basketball, but not every day. So what Curtis Jackson does is he enrolls in an after-school program from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., where you can do studies and extracurricular activities at school. He brings those papers to his Nana so that she sees what he's doing. He goes the first couple of days and then he just starts ditching out. He puts on the perspective of this person who wants to venture into the world, this person who's working hard at their studies, and that is the sweet little angel that she sees. Reality is, it is something completely different. Any other questions? The woodsman makes a great point. He wants to know about boxing. This ties into his fearless approach. When he was a kid, he was afraid of getting beaten up. However, once he started to go to boxing, once he started boxing, he realized that he could get hit and it didn't hurt. And the people didn't take it easy on him. They wanted him to learn. And so through boxing, he kind of matured his body as a man, and he used that aggressive approach in life as well. Sometimes you need to dictate the pace of where things are going to go. You can't just be backed into a corner. And so from his lessons in boxing, he kind of uses that as a framework of how to deal with people in business. The very end of the book is kind of a little bit of a puff piece where he goes, and I kind of want to be remembered for giving back to the community. We'll see if that happens. But it's kind of like an open chapter to where his life could go. So even though it keeps falling off the block, it does get off the block. It's a good book.